Hello, and welcome to the latest installment in our UXDX online series. I hope you're as excited as I am for the talks that we have this evening, and there's some great talks that we have lined up. But before we jump into those, I want to give a very quick introduction to UXDX and why we host these sessions. So at UXDX, our mission is to help companies shift from building software projects using waterfall or more commonly water scrum fall methodologies to truly empowering autonomous product teams to build products that customers love in ways that work for the business. Now, that's really easy to say, but that's hard to do because it involves changing so many different aspects of how the company works. And that's where these talks come in. So no one talk is going to cover every aspect of how to build kind of software products from idea through to validated software. But we ask people to share how they're changing their way of working in their section of that process so that hopefully you can get some ideas on things that you can bring back to your companies or changes that you can make. And hopefully, as you're listening, some questions might come up on as you're thinking through how do I apply that in my context? So the speakers are really excited to take your questions. So please feel free to enter them in whichever platform that you're watching this on. So on UXDX, there's question bar on the right-hand side, or it could be on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, whichever platform that you're watching this on. If you write in the questions, we'll put those questions through to the speakers. Now, sometimes we don't get time to get to all of the questions, and that's where the UXDX community Slack group comes in. So any questions we don't have time to get through, we'll put them into the Ask the Speaker channel, and we'll invite the speakers to come and answer them there for you. But that's enough about me. You're not here to listen to me talk, so I'd like to introduce our first speaker for this evening. So Igor Voloshin, who is the discovery team head at CoinsPaid, will be talking, or I think it's actually a slight change in the topic. It'll be about the way we have approached solving the user's pains with the export feature. So I'd like to welcome Igor to the stage. Welcome, Igor.
Oh, thank you very much for this. Well, basically the topic or I would say the words on the slide are different, but the topic is the same because the way we approach things can be, used at any kind of companies. So basically what I wanted to tell you about, guys, today is my story that I've recently been working on while kind of researching the issues with the export button in our back office product. But I'll tell you a bit about this a little bit later. Let me introduce some more details about me. So yeah, you already know my name. I'm a discovery team lead at CoinsPaid. I have a background. I've been working with different companies, startups like Awesome, consulting companies like BCG and Deloitte. I've been working for mobile development companies, and also had my own business as well. And but I think the greatest thing about me is that I'm coming to the USA event in a month, and I would really love to see all of you there. So if you would like to say hi to me, just come. I'm a really friendly guy, and I really would love to meet you in person. I've recently joined CoinsPaid back in December. And CoinsPaid is a company which provides several crypto solutions. One of the main ones is the crypto payment gateway. The other one is business wallet. So basically those two products give you an ability to accept cryptocurrencies, manage funds, and withdraw fiat currencies. And crypto is kind of developing in a really high pace. The thing is that there are still UX issues in a lot of places, and I truly believe that the blockchain was definitely not developed in any circumstances with the designers involved, because most of the things are more like IT way of doing things. That's why I've been invited to the company in order to help create a different culture, different approach on how we solve the issues that will help us to boost the customer and user experience. My team will consist of 5 people, including me, but currently just 3. And I've developed this idea that we want to have a dedicated team, and the team will be divided based on the stages of the product development process. So that's why I've got several researchers who will be the CX researcher will be focusing more on the external research, when we want to learn something new about the clients in order to develop some kind of new feature or new product line. And the UX researcher would be responsible for helping to decide how this feature will be implemented in the real product, or how to change the current product in a better way. And also, we definitely need someone to evaluate it at the end, and because we don't have even the simplest NPS measurement in the current way. And also, I definitely need a research ops who will just be helping to make everything happen. The three things I'm going to focus on this presentation, I deliberately put at the beginning of the presentation, so you will learn where I'm kind of coming from. The first thing is the customer insights-driven product development culture, which I'm trying to evolve here, and I'll be telling what is the current way of doing things. Second, the importance of context for solution development. One of the things, as a discovery team, as a dedicated discovery team, we gather all the information about the client, and then we need to kind of pass it to the product teams. And it's really important how you actually do this. And context is one of those things that is really important for the discovery team to pass to the product team in order for them to create the better solution. And then I will talk about just a slide about how the product teams can actually proceed with all this data, and the way we give it to them means, or how they proceeded with that, really important to kind of be aligned with the strategy of what you want to do with your product. Okay, so let's start. Let's get back to this export button. So basically, in our product, it's a B2B product, so companies would sign up a contract with us, and we will help them to integrate this payment method. And after they installed everything and onboarded things, at some point they need to take the all the list of transactions and the reports and actually export them to do certain things. The thing is that currently companies and people in the companies complain a lot about it, and they were I think complaining it for a really long time. The way things are usually done in the CoinsPaid, I call it a solution-driven product development. Well, customers complain to different kind of people inside of the company. Usually, in our case, it's C-level management and account managers, the ones who actually talk with the clients. And so those guys would just hear this complaint, think about them, then give a solution straight to the product team. Maybe they can give them some context why they, or decision-making journey somewhere in their head, how they come up with this solution. But the thing is that product team doesn't have enough understanding of the initial problem. And there are so many solutions that come to the product team that they are not really, they don't have time to actually do a proper research. So that's what I wanted to kind of change in the way the things are working. Wait, so for some reason, so this would be the example of how currently the solutions are being sent to the backlog of the product team. So as you can see, there are kind of certain ideas. They describe a problem just a little bit, but mostly it's not really anything about what is the actual context in which the pain happens, or anything like this. And product team, I actually have to work with it somehow. So then I come to the play, and what I want to do is kind of change it to the customer insights-driven product development culture. When I, as a team, as a discovery team, I know that there is an issue with the export button, but I don't want to go to the solutions part. I rather would go back to the customers and ask them, do the basic research by asking them the stories. What are they actually doing with the button that then lead to their pain? What are their stories? What are their experience there? And then by kind of processing it through my team, through the knowledge that we have, through lots of interviews that we've done, Then we create those customer insights and bring them to the product team. The way that it will be for the product team, the way that they will be able to comprehend it and actually use further on in their presentation. Just a second, I think I need to restart the presentation. This way, yeah, this is the way. So decided to do such kind of research. We've kind of put up some question that we want to ask or find answers for. So what are the jobs clients hire expert function for? Who uses the expert function? What are they trying to achieve there? So there were like basic questions. Of course, we did the interview guide, but we definitely needed to understand all those. We wanted to find the answers to all those questions. We did some in-depth interviews. First, we started with the internal ones because actually our own employees also at finance department, at the accounting department, they also used back office and they also use this function as well. So we were able to kind of learn from in a safe environment within the company what's about the expert button that they don't like. And then we also came to just 5 clients. We've had 8 respondents and with the different roles, and we actually learned that there are more roles than we actually initially thought when we were entering into the research. So the number is not really high, but we will learn a lot from just kind of 11 interviews. So basically, I would suggest every time you have this you should go to the client, any kind of issues with the experience, go to the client and just try to find anyone you can talk to in order to get the better understanding of what's happening. So the gathering and processing of the data happened like this. We've been doing the interviews via Zoom. We've ditched the Google Meet because the quality of the picture was not enough for us. Then the transcription had to be done manually. Some of the interviews were done in English, some of them were done in Russian, and the software that we were trying to use in order to transcript everything wasn't really performing well, so we had to do it manually. Then we were parsing all those those insights into quotes, steps, screenshots, and panes in order to get kind of the overall data. And then we, through the induction, decided to do the final presentation. It was all done in Figma. We prefer to work in Figma, at least for some of the projects. And this is how the interview parsing actually looks like, right? So there are lots of screenshots. If you can see, the black ones are the ones with the back office. All the other ones is actually screenshots how the data that was exported actually being used and how much additional steps had to be made in order to get the information sorted out the way clients needed for their goals. After we've kind of parsed those interviews and looked into them, we've defined few jobs to be done statements. This is just an example of 3 of them. There are much more. And the great thing about those statements is that they are, I really like them because they are more universal. So basically, I guess a lot of companies within the payment industry definitely have the same things. For an example, for reconciliation role, they need to keep the data consistent between both systems, the CoinsPaid back office and the accounting system that they have. And basically, this was their goal. And they've been hiring the expert body in order to get this thing done. Then we've expanded the statement to the job story to add the context there, to add the motivation. So it would be packed in a way product team would be easy to understand what is happening there and what is their goal and motivation. So it will be easier for them to create those solutions. So basically, this job story sounds like this. So when I compare transactions of CoinsPaid back office and my accounting software daily, I want to quickly and effortlessly identify disparities quickly and edit them so I can be sure the data is consistent in both systems. in order to get this to this level of simplicity, we had to do several several attempts to actually filter everything that is not really not too detailed, does not have any solutions in it, and I guess it worked. Also, we had identified pains, and we've also tried to create the list, which was quite short and enable product teams to easily understand what is the exact pain. An example, one of the things is like the export function freeze for reports consisting more than 100,000 transactions, which means you kind of click on the export button, but it just doesn't give you anything. It just stuck there forever. Or the other thing was the structure of the transactions needs additional actions to calculate actual fees accrued. The way we've presented the transactions and transaction costs was not easy to comprehend by the clients. So we've then kind of compiled the overall presentation. It looked like this. So it was lots of slides because we had a lot of kind of knowledge was gathered around. But in essence, we had this kind of logic behind it. So we actually had statements. Every statement could have several job stories because they might have different contexts. An example, for the reconciliation example, one context would be to kind of do the reconciliation every single day. That's why you would have a limited kind of number of transactions. And the other thing is when you're trying to do the reconciliation once a month, the huge number of transactions, and it actually gives you a little bit different way how you try to approach it. We're having this kind of, I would say not mapped out because it was like in instructions. We've put in instructions the current journeys the users had to go through in order to get their things done. And we identified the pains on those steps. The thing about the pains that they actually appear the same problem could have appeared on the several journeys, and that's really important for us because by solving one pain, we can actually give great impact on the user experience for different jobs and probably for different roles. So with this knowledge that we've given to the product teams and through the presentation and through the kind of in-depth discussion of every single slide, now the product teams had enough understanding of what can they do, what are the issues, what is the context there, and can go on and look for the solutions, design solutions and try to solve the issues. So there are two options here, which I would say which way to slice all those pains that we have found and how to approach them and find the solutions. One approach would be to have those kind of jobs to be done statement focused. So you basically take a statement, a job story, you have this current journey, and you would decide that, hey, we want to solve all the issues for this particular journey in order to make this particular journey feel great. And we will take out all those pains away. While doing so, because those pains are repeatedly happen on other journeys as well, you kind of help the other journeys as like you change the other journeys as well. But the greatest experience will be only on this particular journey that you have. The other way around is to have kind of I would say a pain-focused approach. When you have this list of pains and you try to think and prioritize them in the way when you have like what is the pain that have the most impact on the customer experience, let's solve it, then move to the second one, to the third one, and it might happen that those pains are actually distributed among some of the journeys, and not a single journey would actually have this great experience. Every single one would have some issues there, and you wouldn't have any wow effects anywhere. So, but basically, this is the product teams. It's on their, in their area of responsibility to decide which approach they want to take in. The importance of context, when I was saying that it's really important to give the context, not just the pains, not just the the journey is that in the context, based on the context, different solution can be actually made. An example, if we have this export function freeze issue, if there will be no other context, then the direct solution would be to kind of redesign the way files are generated, and let's be sure that even if you have 1 million transactions, you will still receive the Excel file. But if we add the context there and we say that, hey, the files are then used for reconciliation with client's accounting software, we can think, okay, so the 1 million transactions would be a really like awful idea to have in Excel in order to get them kind of reconciled. Let's develop an API and let this accounting software sync with our software, with our back office data, and they will reconcile it on the daily basis. And the reconciliation manager will receive a notification if something differs. Or the other examples, right? So if the files are used to calculate account balance to manage liquidity, then we can do, again, a really direct thing. Let's add the balance feature. But if we kind of dig deeper and think, maybe we can help even better, maybe we can add a liquidity suggestion feature. And for this way we will also give more value to the client, and again, bring the user experience to much better level. So basically, we currently done this research. We've given it to the product teams. Now we are helping them or supporting them to actually understand it in a detailed way, and it's still on the go. How we will, I really interested to see how they will create those solutions and actually implement them. It's still going to be, I think, in this quarter and the next quarter. But yeah, I think those three things that I've mentioned at the start are the idea that this presentation probably proves, right? So like the customer insights driven product development culture really helps you to give more freedom to the product teams. It helps you to create better solutions, and if the product team doesn't really have this ability to go and do the research, then you definitely have to, kind of create the dedicated team like us who have the context. Is really important for solutions development, and that's why it needs to be collected and kind of packaged in a way the product teams could consider it when they're creating solutions. And it's up to the product teams how they will slice the pie and how they will approach all those pains that they have found, or we have found. So it's kind of really interesting to see what will be happening further on. Thank you for your attention. I hope you have found something interesting in my presentation. So if yes, then please write me kind of 3 ideas that came to your mind while you were listening to me. And if you have any questions, again, please just find me somewhere in the social networks, or just send a WhatsApp message to me, and I'll be really happy to answer everything that you've asked me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Igor. That was I really enjoyed that, because I'm a massive fan of jobs to be done. So anything that mentions it, I tend to get excited. So so just to reiterate, if anybody has any questions, please do write them in on whichever platform you're watching this on, and I'll collate those and pass them through to Igor. One thing that came up just as I was kind of listening to your talk, the export feature is a brilliant example of, this is as far as I'm going to go with our product, and then after that it's up to you. So that's something that often teams really have a challenge with. Where is the boundary of the product? So how do you manage that? And because with any product, you could keep digging and digging and digging, and you could keep finding problems and problems. So what do you use to make sure that you're not kind of stretching beyond what you should be focusing on?
Well, regarding the research, because I'm not a product manager, so product manager would definitely have those really strict borders. Probably they would have really strict borders. For me, when I'm doing research, I'm trying to kind of expand those borders as much as possible, while we're having this conversation with the client. This way, by expanding it and trying to make it larger than the product manager, have those borders. Otherwise, if I will not bring enough knowledge to the product manager, he would just say to me something like, you've missed it, because I don't understand why this certain thing happening. Also, one of those, I think, because I'm kind of new to the company and I'm trying to understand how far are we actually really want to go into the customer's life, I'm still trying to find this border. But if we'll come back to kind of on the previous job, when I was at Awesome, and I was doing a lot of research mostly on the internal processes, every single time, the more I dig, the more I expanded those borders for the product managers, it was more and more helpful. So I guess maybe it's actually just like, a researcher's task is actually to show to the product manager that there are much more that he can handle, or much more than he can think about regarding the user's life, the customer's life. And maybe this is the way, that the product manager would think out of the box finally and create something that will have this wow emotions that we would really love to hear from the client.
Great. No, that is good, because I guess they might not even be aware of some of these challenges that people are facing, or probably aren't.
That's true. That's true.
And that ties in. Kayla has just put in a comment saying she appreciates your emphasis on context, because it is so imperative to drive out well-informed solutions that eliminates confirmation bias and returns the value back to the user. So she says, very well done presentation. So much.
Yeah, thank you very much for this. Yeah, I truly believe, when we're doing the research, we definitely have a lot of different ideas how to solve things. And when we are trying to kind of push this information to the product team, we are deliberately not saying anything regarding those ideas and solutions that we have, or that clients might have said, because in this way, when you just give them just a space saying, hey, this is the context and you can create whatever you want, it gives, I think, a great freedom for the people who are responsible for creating solutions, and they don't need to kind of be thinking, okay, so I've got this idea, but the client said the other idea, which one is better? Without this kind of, I would say, social pressure or idea pressure from anyone else, it's really up to you how you would solve it. So this, I think that's why, and context actually gives you all this data without the need to actually say the idea that the client said or something like this.
Great. No, I love that. That actually ties in a little bit with my next question, which is, so you're providing all of this context and all of this kind of like problems, but at the same time, they're probably still getting the stakeholder, that diagram that you showed at the start, the stakeholder sales teams, just tell them, just go build this. So how do companies, or sorry, how does the product team or your product team, how do they balance that out? That, oh, actually, we should solve this export and not the thing that the sales team is telling us to build.
So there are, I think what we're doing currently, we're trying to solve several issues at the same time. On one hand, we are trying to kind of balance the business strategy with the product strategy, and actually to align them between each other, and also align it with the backlog that we have with all those complaints, because I think we have currently we really have a big depth in terms of the UX features that actually needed to be done. And I think what we have, like we are coming to a conclusion that this year should be the year when we are trying not to create new features, but rather reiterate our own product that we have, the core product, the core features that are there, in order for and make them just better, simpler to use, have better experience, be more stable. And after that, probably next year, we will be able to kind of scale up a little bit. So and also I think it's really important for us what we are doing as well. We are not just giving this interview results, this presentation, just to the product team, but we also come back to the account managers, to C-level managers, and tell them that, hey, we found the things, and make everyone be in the same context, in the same information board, information whiteboard, I guess that's what we call it. So basically, if everyone have the same amount of information, it's much easier to come up to the same solutions, rather than everyone have something different portions of the information, and they are not really know anything about someone else vision. So that's the thing, how we try to manage it. But again, but the product teams, I really want to give more emphasis that the product teams should have this autonomy into making those those decisions. And the reason why they need to do this, they should be really deeply understand the client's context. And I don't believe that C-level managers or account managers are able to do this. They have different jobs, and product team have this ability, and they just need it.
You just need the context and the empowerment. So
yes.
Excellent. That brings us to time. So thank you very much, Igor. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate your giving me a chance to do my speech. Thank you very much, and see you in New York.
Yeah, I'll be there. Excellent. So up next we have Rishi Sharma, who is the lead UX content designer at Cvent India, and Rishi will be talking about content designing for product designers. So I'd like to welcome Rishi to the stage. Hi, Rishi.
Hello, hi. How are you doing?
Very good. Over to you.
Okay. Hey guys, so we are going to talk about content design for product designers. So I think content is one of the most important part of the UX designs, because what I believe is the design alone cannot serve the purpose, cannot solve all the problems of your users. So this is me. I've got around 8 years of experience working as a content designer in multiple industries, and I've got some certifications and qualifications. Now, if I have to start with my story, how I got into UX is back in 2015. It was the month of May. I was having a cup of tea with my colleagues. I was working there as a technical writer, and I was documenting an API. And at that very moment, I saw one of the pull requests that was fetching a content that said, literally that said, "My lord, we are so sorry, we could not find the record that you're searching." So I think this was the moment that ignited the fire of designing content from the perspective of UX for the end users. I just spoke to my manager, and I somehow got into the UX content writing. This is how I started. Now, so this is our agenda. We are going to talk about the introduction of content design, then we'll talk about voice and tone, and along with that, we'll take some more subjects. Okay, so what actually is content design? So people actually mistake content design with UX writing, which is not actually wrong, but content design is a very vast topic. It is not just concerned only with UX writing. So it's a complete process that starts from scratch, from planning, creating, managing, brainstorming, ideating. You have to do a lot of things before you send your content to the final design. Whereas the UX writing is just a subset of content design. In layman's language, I can say in content design, you get to choose your own component, how you are going to showcase or display your message to your users. It's you as a content designer who decide which component to use. How are you going to express uh, that text, how it is going to showcase to the user. Whereas in UX writing, The product designer provides you with a space, with a limited space, with a component, and asks you to fill that information with the necessary information or the text that they want on that screen. Now, what's more important in designing content is voice and tone. I think this is one of the most popular subject that people ask about. So the voice and tone is how you represent your brand to your users, right? It is your verbal identity. It's your ownable content, right? It's your ownable verbal content that is consistent across all the channels, whether it's your product, it's your LinkedIn, your Facebook, any other social media channel. Your voice remains the same, because how do you want your users to recognize you? If your brand was a person, how would you recognize that? It's how the person walks, it's how they speak. However, the tone can be manipulating. It can you can choose the way you express your emotions. You want to convey your message. So tone is very selective. You can choose how you want to express your feelings, right? So it's I think it is clear. Voice is just if you are a brand, how you want your brand to be recognized, and tone is how you are going to express. How do you want to convey that message, right? If I would say, if I have to convey a message to a person, I need to make sure that I'm aware of the purpose that I'm expressing that information to them. What is my vision? Why I am expressing that emotion or expressing that text to them. So this is how you can set your tone for your brand. Then comes the style guides. Now, style guides are, we can say they are the protocols. Okay. So these are the set of rules that you need to take care of while writing content. Okay. So it's how you present your content, and you keep them consistent across all the channels, all the screens, all the frames on Figma or whatever the tool that you use. There are certain benefits of using style guides. First is definitely you get the consistency. However, you just need to make sure that you are following just one style guide, not more than one, because every style guide has some set of rules which may be different for a specific subject. The proper nouns, pronouns may be different in multiple style guides. So first of all, you just need to pick one style guide for your brand and stick to the rules that are described in it. You can set your brand voice using that style guide, and you can improve the readability, and you can improve the way you convey your messages. And above all, a style guide, using style guide for designing content brings professionalism to your design. Okay, this is how you set your brand apart from your competitors. If you have got certain words that are written in a specific form across all the way, all the channels, all the screens, this is how you recognize professionalism. It shows how dedicated and how much importance you provide uh, to such things. And here are some of the most popular style guides that you can refer to. Uh, I personally I've used AP Style Book and Chicago Manual of Style. I am not sure how good you may find them, but yeah, they are worthwhile. You can certainly spend some time and design content using them. Now, we can talk about some of the best practices when it comes to content designing, because I think this is what we are here for. Okay, so first of all, we just need to make sure that whatever content that's there, it is designed and written for humans. We may be writing content using a machine and maybe for computer software, but we need to make sure, we need to remember that our users are human. And that is why we need to keep our tone. We need to keep our language conversational, clear, and it has to be transparent. You must not make false promises, and you should refrain from showing any false data. Acronyms. I think most of us have been using acronyms anywhere and everywhere we can use them, but it is always better to use only the acronyms that are related to your industry. They have to be standardized. Okay, and you need to spare them. Do not cram acronyms everywhere on your design, otherwise it will look a little, unprofessional. Along with that, it may impact your design as well. No matter how much effort you have put in to solve a problem of the user, but using acronyms every now and then make the user frustrated. So I'd say you need to be very careful while using acronyms. Active voice. Okay, I think this is while you're designing your content or you're designing your product. I think whenever you search over the internet how to design content for UX, this is the first rule that comes in. Use active voice. Why? Because this is how you make your language conversational with your users. Avoiding passive voice actually makes it conversational automatically. You are referring to your users directly. This is how you create a bond with your user. So always use active voice of speech. Using ampersand. Okay, so I think many of us are already using ampersand interchangeably with the word and, which I believe is not a very good practice because, see, this is just a symbol. Okay, it actually doesn't stand for and. It is. You can certainly use it if there's a brevity that you're looking forward to. If you need to save some space, you can use it in your content writing or writing titles for your blogs, articles. But in product, it is always better to refrain from using ampersand because, you know, if there are some developers using your product, or if some developers are even developing your product, this ampersand may confuse them because this is also used in some coding languages as an operator. Oxford comma. Okay, so I think this is a very new topic that has come up in the English language. So the Oxford University and the research wing has introduced this Oxford comma. Whenever you are introducing three or more subjects or objects, you need to include an Oxford comma after the second one as well, right before the word and. So if you need to introduce 1, 2, 3, you say 1, comma 2, comma, and 3. Okay, so it is for better clarity, and it definitely it makes your content less ambiguous. Wow, casing. I think this is where most of the folks face problems. So the only problem that we face with casing is that we do not keep them consistent. You need to pick one way, whether you want to use a title case, sentence case. If you're a developer, you can use snake case or camel case, whatever that suits your need. But just you can define your brand, you can define the voice and tone, and define the casing as well. How are you going to showcase that text and keep it consistent? So if you have to take my advice, I would always suggest to go with the sentence case because it looks more professional, and it improves the readability of the user as well. However, using all caps is always not recommended because imagine you're reading a piece of content and there comes some special text that is all capital. So it gives us an impression of yelling and shouting at the user, which I think it is all against the principles of UX. So always avoid the capitals, capital letters. the all caps in your writing. Jargons. Okay, so jargons and terminologies are two different things, and you need to understand and you need to identify what are all the jargons that you can use across your writing. There may be some terminologies that may come up as a jargon, but in your industry, in your domain that you're working in, they may be very well addressed and very well understandable by the users. So if there are some jargons that need an explanation, please provide them. Either you send the user to your community article or just give a brief introduction to the word that you're talking about right below you write that jargon. Pronounce. Okay. So I think it's 2023, and we all have gone through the gender equality. Uh, there are some movements as well. So we need to introduce that to our designs as well. We, if you're not sure whom you're referring to, which I think in most of the cases you would not know which gender is actually using your content. So it is always better to use some generic pronouns like they and them instead of he or she. It's a more professional approach to reaching out to your users. Another thing is to address your users in the second person point of view. Okay. Instead of saying user needs to click on it, say you need to click on this link. You need, so address your user as you. Okay. Keep it conversational. Keep it two-way. Don't make it sound robotic. You're not a robot, and you're not talking to a robot as well. So keep your content in the second person. Grammar, absolutely. So it can definitely break or make your brand. So this is how you showcase your users that how deliberately you're working towards your designs. Okay, this is how you show your professionalism. If I've received any email and the grammar is broken, I understand that it's a scam or it's a spam email. No matter how personalized that email looks like, but if the grammar is broken, I understand that whoever the person was, how great the email is designed, but there is something fishy, right? Same goes with the product design as well. If the content that goes live is not good with grammar, it can definitely break the trust of your users, and the, the thread of professionalism may break. Error messages. So I think this is one of the most used component in every designs. People do face some issues. There are some 404s. There are some instances where you cannot pull that record that your user is searching for. So one of the best practices in designing error messages is to never blame your user. Okay, you need to empathize with them. Put yourself in place of user and think, if that error would have come to you, how would you have reacted? Okay, so how you're going to do that is that error message should not sound like invalid command or you have put in the wrong information. Instead, what you can do is you can create a constructive error message that not only delivers, not only conveys what actually has gone wrong, but also suggests a way using which the user can resolve that issue, right? So it's a two-way path. When the user knows what's gone wrong and how they can fix it, the error message is, I think the purpose is solved. The user gets what they want. Competitors. I've seen in many designs where people have been the product designers are actually using competitors' names everywhere. Like whether it's a comparison of features or anything, they are using it very bluntly, which I think, and even legally, is not a good practice. So I just keep it for the comparison of prices, but you can also use it for features as well. But do not just keep naming your competitor every now and then on your designs or any other content. PG-13 cursing. Okay, so I think cursing is not literally cursing. So when we try to go conversational with our users, it's always good to show our emotions. And how we do that is we open up with uh, we come up with some selective words, okay, which is not advised to to do all the time, but yeah, at some places in certain products, I would not say that. So these PG-13 cursing cannot be used in the enterprise software. I'm talking only about the B2C product line. When okay, so the PG-13 is the parental guidance. 13 means preteen. Okay, so the government or some industry has recognized these terms. So there are some terms that come under this category that can be used in your product design while designing content, just to keep your message conversational and not look robotic. So uh, one of the examples is Dan, Hell. So yeah, you can use some of them, but it is very subjective. Only use it if you have to. Humor, I would say you need to be very careful with humor. So take it as a professional way of how would you react, or how do you behave at your workplace. You need to behave the same way even while designing content. Okay, so a deadpan humor is all good. You can certainly do it, but make sure that your humor is not hurting your users. It is not impacting their self-respect or their own image. Okay. Accessibility. So I think this is the era where we have to address all the people. So accessibility is keeping your content for everyone, not for a specific group of people, but for everyone. So there are some best practices, although it is a very big topic. It would require another session if we really want to talk about it. But uh, in the interest of time, these are some takeaways. So instead of writing click here and providing the link with the here thing, you can write a descriptive text. Okay, that link text must include what and where that link is heading towards to. So this is how you introduce accessibility in your content. Same way, if there's an image and the person is visually impaired, you can add in some alt text, so that if the person clicks on that, or if the person wants to know what that image is all about, your alt text, the alternate text, must be able to define what that image is representing. Now, here comes the very interesting part of content. So there are some psychologies that you can include to your content. One is Fiero. So Fiero is, you know, it is a feeling when you accomplish something, or when you overcome something. So that pride, that feeling, I would say, that satisfaction or the triumph that comes to a user. Okay, congratulations, well done. So you can include these words to you know that is going to be very appealing for your users. Cognitive is, you can take it as just the opposite of cognitive load. So cognitive ease is when your user doesn't have to pay much attention to what is written. Okay, keep your content straight and concise. So when your content is brief, it delivers what it wants, it is solved. Your user doesn't have to pay much attention to it. Decoy strategy, I think everyone must have been through these situations where you have to choose one of these popcorn buckets. So when there are when when you provide your users with multiple options, okay, this is when they feel more comfortable in selecting one option. So instead of two, you can provide them with three options, wherein the difference between the second and third option is very less. So you know when and how to use that psychology. Priming. Priming is when you want your users to know what's coming for them. Okay. So if I want my user to buy a cup of coffee, I will have an advertisement run in the background so that they have this image of coffee and then they're gonna go and grab it. So this priming, and you must have heard people calling it, right? I was primed by this and this company. So what you can do is how you include priming is if there's a CTA, you can include, you know, some visual uh, thing that, or maybe an arrow that says start, and then there's an arrow that goes this way. It means the user understands, okay, when I click on this start, I'm going to get to the other screen. I'm going to lose that screen that I'm on right now. Framing. Framing is very important because how you are going to frame your content is very important, and this is the foundation of the success of your product. So you know it, and so okay, what you can do is there are multiple ways to use it, right? If you want to sell some sugar, you're going to call it zero fat or 0% fat, but you are not letting your users that it is full of carbohydrates. Okay, so the framing is vastly used in the advertisement domain, but you can use it for positive impacts. It is very important that you do not misuse any of the content psychologies. Moment of yes, if in case you have to, you want your users to click on yes, and there is some legal constraint that you have to take permission of your user. Maybe you want them to subscribe to your newsletter. Then the momentum of yes, what you can do is you can ask multiple questions for which the user is gonna give yes as an answer. And amid those questions, you can put in your question, would you like to subscribe to our newsletter? And there are high chances that they are going to say yes to that. This is the moment of yes. Slothing. Okay, I think slothing is, I don't know how are you going to introduce to your content, because it is very subjective and may not apply to all the domains. But slothing can be use it that way. So instead of putting multiple options, okay, you can have just one option available for your users. So if I have to put it that way, okay, suppose there are multiple examples that you need to choose from. Just give them one example that is more relatable to your users. Now, another psychology is reason for request. What you can do is you need to provide some reason when you're asking any permission or you're requesting your users. So this is also called the power of because. When you are informing your users why do you need certain information or certain permission, they are more likely to grant that to you. Divestiture aversion. Okay, I think this is the best part of human psychology. Whatever that you have, whatever it is there in your possession, you always are going to value it. Okay, how are you going to use it with your content design is Take an example of Netflix premium membership. Once you have it, you are less likely to leave it. Okay, so you can frame your content according to the benefits that you're providing to your users, and that's going to be very helpful. Now, we can talk about some institutionalization. I'll not take much of your time with that. So, how are you going to how you're going to practice these content things to improve your content is you can create a content culture at your workplace. Let others involve in framing those sentences that you're looking forward to. Or you can onboard a specialist. You can have a content designer onboarded, hire a content designer. Then what you can do is you can do the competitor analysis according to the content. Whatever the content that they are providing, you can just take a list of the jargons, the standard industry terms that you want to include. After that, you can design your own content. Why I'm saying that is because there are times when developers are working on something and they just end up including one or two pop-up messages or some soft errors, and they just they skip reaching out to the designers for the content, and they write it on their own, which I think breaks the bridge. So design your own content. At last, you can create a content community or a Slack channel with any fancy name, the Content King or the Content Shorteners, and you can challenge your coworkers, provide them with the scenario, with the persona, and let them come up with some great ideas. Pick one of them. If you want, you can just polish it and place it to your component. Well, that was all about it. You can reach out to me if you have any questions. This is my LinkedIn profile. I'm always available. And yep, that is all. Open to questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Rishi. That was a very detailed and in-depth covering of kind of all of the different kind of elements of a style guide. So thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
We have run a little bit over time, but we have one question come in from Natalia who said, sorry, I missed about competitor names. Please repeat if you can. So if you could just give a quick recap of that, it would be great.
So while what happens is whenever you are comparing your competitors, you keep on taking their names. It is always recommended that you do not directly call out names of your competitors. Instead, you can take a very indirect approach. You can say, this is my brand and this is other brands. Do not name it out. Do not call their names. It is not advised, and it is against the legal practices as well.
Yeah, I've seen places that the leading cola in the market, and we all pretty much know who the leading cola in the market is.
Exactly the same way.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Rishi. I really enjoyed that, and I hope everybody else did at home.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Great. So that brings us to an end for this session. But if you did enjoy that and you enjoy the kind of mission that we're trying to achieve with bringing together product, UX, design, and dev to really empower product teams and not have these kind of water scrum full ways of working, then please do consider joining us at UXDX USA in 4 weeks' time, or I might start asking people to join us in October in EMEA because it's a bit short notice to get to New York. But we will have 25 speakers, 500 attendees, 8 workshops, and at our EMEA one, which I'll probably promote, we'll have even more attendees and more workshops, etc. So hopefully you can join us at one of those conferences, but if not, I look forward to seeing you at the next UXDX Online. And thank you to our speakers, and thank you to you for